Hi everyone, I hope you all safe and healthy with your family and friends. In this video we are going to learn about 11th Standard Accountancy, Chapter 8, Bank Reconciliation Statement, Illustration 5, when balance as per the bank statement is favorable. Prepare the bank reconciliation statement as on 31st December 2017 from the following information. Let's read the transaction what they given below. That is, balance as per the bank statement passbook is rupees 25,000. No record has been made in the cash book for a dishonor of a check for rupees 250. Checks deposited into bank amounting to rupees 3,500 were not yet collected. Bank charges of rupees 300 has not been entered in the cash book. Checks issued amounting to rupees 9,000 have not been presented for the payment. Listen carefully. Before we are going to enter the given transactions in bank reconciliation statement, we need to identify which transaction is to be receipt and which transaction is to be payment, which is to be increasing and which is to be decreased. Whenever it is decreased, it will be payment, and whenever it is increased, it will be receipt. And then to find out that how the transactions is to be recorded. Listen carefully. Some transactions will be recorded in the cash book, but some transaction will not recorded in the passbook, and some transaction will be recorded in the passbook but not in the cash book, and sometimes it will be recorded in the both the books, okay, but in one book the transaction will be recorded twice or thrice. What happened for these types of recording? Based on the question, we will show up the balances of the cash book and passbook. Listen carefully. We have given here balance as per the cash. We have given here balance as per the passbook. So you can understand that this question is based on the passbook. So you have to clearly understand that we need to use the opposite method. Why? Because the balance as per the passbook is given here. So we need to use the opposite method. Okay. What is meant by opposite method? That is, whatever is to be added in the passbook or whatever is to be increased in the passbook, as per the opposite rule, it is to be decreased or it is to be subtracted in the passbook. And whatever is subtracted in the passbook or whatever decreased in the passbook, as per the opposite rule, it is to be added. So then only the BRS shows the same balance on both the passbook and the cash book. Before we are going to prepare the bank reconciliation statement, first we need to write the format of the bank reconciliation statement. So the bank reconciliation statement as on 31st December 2017 as given in the question. And you know 3 columns are there, that is particular columns and the inner amount column and the outer amount column. And you need to write the balance as per the question. So the balance as per the question is balance as per the bank statement rupees 25,000 is to be entered on the particular column and 25,000 is to be entered on the outer amount column. Let's read the first transaction, that is, no records has been made in the cash book for a dishonor of a check for rupees 250 rupees. Listen carefully. When the check is received from the outside parties, what you do? Immediately it is recorded in your cash book, right? Which means your cash book will be increased. Your cash book will be increased to 250 rupees because you received check from outsider, okay? So your cash book is to be debited, isn't it? After recorded in your cash book, then only you went to the bank and then only you deposited the 250 rupees checks into a bank. And then what happened in the bank? On the due date, the customer, that means the outside party who gave the check to the business, who fails to make the payment, that means that check was dishonored. When the check was dishonored, what the bank does? Immediately the bank goes to its customer account and immediately deducted the cash from the business's bank account. Listen, what happens in the bank? On due date, no payment made from the outside party, and immediately the cash was deducted from the businesses of the bank account. According to the passbook will be decreased. What we have to do now? Because the check was dishonored, here we have to use the opposite method. Listen carefully. Your check was dishonored. Okay. So what about your bank passbook? Your check was dishonored only. Your passbook will be decreased. Now we are going to use the opposite rule method. That is, whatever is to be decreased or whatever is to be subtracted in your passbook, as per the opposite rule, it will be added. It will be increased in your passbook. So as for the opposite rule, we need to be added in the passbook. So this transaction will be added. So in add column, dishonor of check 250 amount is entered in the inner amount column. Then only the BRS shows the same balance on both passbook and the cash book. So this transaction is to be added. So in add column, we have to write dishonor of check 250 rupees is entered in the inner amount column. The next transaction is no record has been made in the cash book for a dishonor of a check for rupees 250. Check deposited into bank amounting to rupees 3,500 were not yet collected. This transaction is same as before transaction. Listen here. When the check, we received a check from outside party, right? What we do? Immediately it is recorded in your cash book, right? Which means your cash book will be increased to 3,500 rupees. Your cash book is to be debited, isn't it? After recorded in your cash book, then only you went to the bank and you deposited that 3,500 rupees check into a bank. And then what happened in the bank? The check amounting to 3,500 rupees were not yet collected, right? What happened in the bank? The 3,500 rupees is to be decreased because the check were not collected yet. Okay. So that only that 3,500 rupees is decreased in your bank passbook. Why? Why? Because it will take 2 days or 3 days or even 4 days or even in a week to clear that check. Okay. So your bank account will be decreased. Your passbook will be decreased. So the checks were not collected only, your passbook will be decreased, right? What you have to do now? You have to use opposite method, right? You have to use what? Opposite method. Now what happened in the bank account? Your bank account decreased. Your passbook will be decreased 3,500 rupees. Okay. So we have to use the opposite method. See, in opposite method, it will be increased 3,500 rupees in your passbook. Then only the BRS, because your passbook will be decreased because of the not collected that check. Okay, your passbook will be decreased. Now we using the opposite rule. What we do, as per the opposite rule, your passbook is to be increased, your passbook is to be added. then only BRS shows the same balance on both cash book and passbook. So this transaction will be added. So in add column we have to write checks deposited into bank but not yet collected 3,500 rupees is entered on the inner amount column we entered. The next transaction is bank charges of rupees 300 have not been entered in the cash book. Now let's understand this transaction in detail. The bank has to cover the cost of running the customer's account, right? So for that the bank has taken charges from its customer bank account directly. So it shows bank passbook and bank charges rupees 300 rupees decreased because it takes bank charges from its customer account directly. So the bank passbook shows 300 rupees decreases. Listen, according to the passbook, the bank charges 300 rupees decreased, right? Okay, what about cash book? When the bank statement received by the business only, this entry will be made in the cash book. Otherwise, no entry was made in the cash book. Why? Because the business accountant doesn't know that they taken the charges of 300 rupees for bank charges. So the cash book remains the same because no entry has been made in the cash book. What we have to do now? Everything is to be opposite. Okay, whatever is to be added in the passbook, the opposite rule is it is to be subtracted, and whatever is to be subtracted in or decreased in the passbook, it is to be added. As for that, here 300 rupees is to be decreased in the passbook, okay, bank passbook. So as for the opposite rule, it is to be added. That 300 rupees is to be added. So in add column we have to write bank charges are not entered in the cash book and 300 rupees is entered inner amount column. And the next transaction is the check issued amounting to rupees 9,000 have not been presented for payment. When the check was issued by the business, it's like made payment through check rupees 9,000 rupees, okay. What you do now, after issued 9,000 rupees check, it is immediately entered on payment side of the cash book, right? So your cash book is to be decreased 9,000 rupees because you issued check, you made payment through check. So immediately your cash book decreased 9,000 rupees decreased in your cash book. Are you clear? Okay. What happened in the bank? On the same day, the issued check amounting to 9,000 rupees have not been presented for the payment, which means on the same day the check has not presented for the payment. The issued check is not deposited in the bank on the same day. So the bank passbook is to be increased. Okay. Why? Because the check were not presented for the payment in the bank only. The passbook increased. What we have to do? We need to use the opposite method. As per the rule of opposite method, whatever passbook increased, in opposite method it is to be decreased. Okay. So this transaction is to be decreased. So we have to enter this transaction on less column. On less column we have to write check issued but not yet presented for the payment, and 9,000 rupees is to be entered on the inner amount column. We entered. Now we need to find out the balance as per the cash book. So for that we have to find the total amount of the add column, that is 250 plus 3,500 plus 300, we will get 4,050 rupees. And then we have to subtract that 9,000 from the subtracted column from the 29,050 rupees. Okay, how do we get down 29,050 rupees? We have to add 4,050 rupees with the 25,000. We will get 29,050 rupees. Then we have to subtract the 9,000 rupees from 29,050 rupees. We will get 20,050 rupees. So now this is the balance as per the cash book, rupees 20,050 rupees. Do you have any doubt? Please comment it on the comment box. Thank you. Take care.